TC podcast,
where we spill the tea on the books that we read.
This is our first podcast episode. Yay. And we are going to be talking about Miss Emily McIntire's book, Hooked, today. Yay.
Yay. I'm so excited. And for those of you that don't know, I'm Callie.
And I'm Montana.
And we are two long-distance besties. And we'll do a little introduction of ourselves.
You go first.
Oh, okay. Well, I live in the Midwest with my husband and two kids. Montana and I met in SD school in Colorado and immediately hit it off. We're two best friends that now enjoy reading all the different genres and are now starting a podcast to hopefully share more time together and in books.
Almost 4 years ago. Yeah, no, it's been over 4 years since we met because we met in 2019 when we were in school and immediately just hit it off. We had a lot of similarities in life, kids being around the same age and our husbands being around the same age. We're around the same age. Just, immediate connection when you find those people. It's really cool. I live more on the western side with my husband and two kids and, our 5 pets. And Callie also has a million pets because that's just our problems. But
I have chickens.
You have so many chickens. Annie Yoakley, all right? So, anyway, fun fact. It was February, either the end of January or beginning of February of 2023. That was last year. Yeah, 2023. And Callie was like, hey, I want you to read this book with me. It's going to be great. I'm like, okay, cool. Both of us loved reading when we were growing up and just we're starting to get back into things. So, I went to Target, bought the book, not knowing a thing about it. Of course, it was A Court of Thorns and Roses, by our queen, SJM. And it just kind of took off on this whole adventure. And now here we are documenting our reads that we're doing together.
It was definitely the book that I think changed both of our lives in a good way.
For sure.
I hadn't really been reading that much. I started back up reading like some thrillers. And then once I picked that up, I was like, yep, this is a book that you have to read too. And I'm so glad that we did. And now, just reading all the different things, all the different genres. Hooked. Backstory on Hooked. Montana decided to send me it for Christmas as our first kickoff for the Fantasy podcast. We've been talking about it for a while, and Hooked is a very popular book on Bookstagram, TikTok. Just a very popular book. So we thought this would be a good starting point because can be read as a standalone, but is part of a longer series. Excited.
So this one has been recommended to me personally by a few people. Both gave it 5 stars, said like the most incredible things. I see it all over Instagram, all over TikTok. It's kind of just wildly advertised. We're like, hey, this might be a really good place to start. It's not like an intimidating size book. And, it's not like we're going into like a Throne of Glass book where those books are beasts and they're massive. We just started in a really good, easy place.
Yeah. After reading it too, I do think like as the series, like, yeah, we could keep going if we wanted, but it's an easy book if someone wanted to pick it up as just a standalone. And it's a very quick read. I feel like as an intro to fantasy, it's very basic writing in the sense that like anyone could pick this up and read it as like, more of like a romance or a fantasy. Like I feel like it falls into both categories. So I feel like it's a good, if that's your cup of tea, which hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. It's a nice, easy read. And it has like the fantasy aspect. It has a romance aspect, but like a dark romance. And it also has kind of like a mafia crime lord feel as well. And, we've been talking about doing this podcast for almost a year now. So it's exciting that we're finally doing it. And it just took us forever to build up the courage to start, but that's okay. But one of the things we want to do, because I'll just randomly, well, I guess we both do this. We'll both randomly text each other and be like, hey, what era are you in today? And we respond with
Obviously,
our Taylor Swift
Taylor
era.
Swift is queen. So, it especially like this coming weekend, like now we're in the first week of, what is this, the second week of February? So Super Bowl is this
Yeah.
weekend. So Taylor Swift Super
Yep.
Bowl is happening this weekend. So exciting.
Taylor Swift
So
Bowl.
the Taylor Swift Super Bowl is happening. She will be there. I know it. But
She has to
so
be.
yeah, what, so two, obviously the most common question we ask is what era are you today?
Me personally, I'm in my Midnight's era today. What about you?
Ooh. Okay. Hmm. This morning, the kids and I were kind of in a folklore era as we were just
Love.
getting up. That's what we were playing. And then
Yeah.
book wise, we kind of already talked about this and kind of agreed, but the era for the book we decided was Reputation.
Total Reputation. And that's just the vibe we kind of get for dark romances in general. Because, there's, it's just
Mm-hmm.
like dark and
It's a
moody
heavy,
and
yeah.
yeah. And this channel is full of spoilers. So if you want to read these books and not know any spoilers, do not continue on from here.
Yes, because now we are going to deep dive into Hooked in the best possible way. And I am not going to hold anything back. So if you don't want to
No.
know, please stop listening here. But thanks for being here. We're so excited to start our first podcast.
Yay. Yeah, check back later
Yay!
when you've read it so you know, and then you can tell us your thoughts later.
Yes, please do, because as much as we love reading and sharing our thoughts with each other, we also want to engage with you guys and be able to share all the theories, plot lines, characters, everything. We want to talk about it all.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so great to be able to talk to other people who read the same books, and then, you might tell someone a theory, they might tell you a theory, and it's like, oh, I never thought of that. Oh, yeah, you make a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
It's just hearing other people's perspective on things is really insightful.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I think that's why I enjoy reading so much, is just being able to
Yeah.
then text you or text my other friends and be like, oh my gosh, like, have you gotten to this part? Or, oh my gosh, I can't believe that ending, of all the things.
Yeah.
So, into Hooked. Let's start with
On we
ratings.
go.
On we go. What did you give the book on Goodreads?
On Goodreads, it's a 4, but in my heart, it's a 3.5. I really wish Goodreads would let you do half stars.
Yes. So you rounded
That
up,
would be
as did
nice.
I. I gave it a 4 on Goodreads, but I also said a 3.5. I don't, it's hard when I say, like, would I recommend? I think I would recommend it to people in the right context. Like, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
because, like she says in the beginning, it's not a retelling. She says it's not fantasy, but because of some of the things, I guess it is. But I guess it could also be read
Yeah.
like more as like a mafia, like we said. And so I guess it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be fantasy. It's just based off of a fantasy Disney movie. But I, so maybe I would recommend maybe.
Yeah, you need to know your audience for this for sure. If you're looking for an easy kind of dark read,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, by all means. It wasn't a bad book, but I'm not out here shouting it on top of the mountain that everyone and their mother needs to read this book.
No, I think it's hard for you and I because we've read SJM, we've read some more hardy, like,
Yeah.
fantasy books that have so much world building, that to this one,
Mm-hmm.
which, how many pages was it? Did we say?
I don't remember. I'll let you
So
look.
it's right at 319.
Just 3 something. Yeah, so
Yeah.
quick, easy read.
It's a very quick, easy read. I felt like it did a good job of, like, explain, like, it did build the world, but it wasn't anything that's like, you
Mind
need,
blowing.
a diagram to understand the characters and
For
like where
sure.
they're at in the
Yeah.
world. Like they're in the United States, so it's very simple
Yeah.
in that aspect, which I enjoyed. The
Mhm.
trigger warnings, she doesn't mention them at the beginning of the book, which I thought was an interesting tactic because I feel like most
Yeah.
trigger
She was
warnings are
like,
just like easily accessible, but she did leave it up to like go in blind if you're up for that, which I did. I
yeah,
didn't
viewer
look them up until
discretion.
after. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
same.
now that I looked them up after, they do say like abuse, death of parent, torture, kidnapping, pregnancy. Um, what else was there? Blood, obviously, yeah, whatever. And I
Yeah.
thought, I guess it was those things, but nothing that I thought was like, oh my gosh, this is like really
I
triggering.
can't handle this. Yeah.
No, but I mean,
And
that's
we
viewer
both
discretion for sure.
read, yeah, and we've both read Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline, and
Hmm.
those were darker for sure than this, especially Hunting. Hunting is
Yes.
a lot to take on, and this just seemed like a walk in the park compared to that one.
Yeah, I felt like these trigger warnings were like the things that were happening in the book. Not only are they like not super like the worst things I've read, but also it's very glossed over. I don't think it's like anything that's like really, really,
Yeah,
really in depth detail of what's happening. So
yeah,
I guess in a sense it's I mean it is a dark romance. It is an adult book. I would not recommend
yeah.
this to children or like young adults,
No, yeah,
but
no, it's
it's
definitely not
it's very
YA.
entry level. I feel like to dark romance in that sense.
Yeah, for sure. If that's kind of what you're looking for, like you're tired of the same old rom-com book, then yeah, maybe
Mhm.
look and see if you're into more of a morally gray main male character.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I'm sure there's ones with main female characters as well who are morally gray, just not this one specifically. But I mean, I would consider doing a reread, not anytime soon. Our TBRs are a mile long, so it's like we have a bunch of other things we want to read that are more prominent in our brains.
I don't know that I would do a reread of this. I I think I might consider looking at the next book in the series,
I
but
think
I
that one's
don't think I
Scarred, isn't
would
it?
reread. Is it Scarred? Yeah.
I think Scarred is next. And I feel like not even doing a full reread, more just kind of like a flip through. Like, say someone else comes to us and like, hey, I'm reading this book, so you like kind of flip through, maybe skim a few areas just to
Yeah.
know where they're at, refresh your brain.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, I want to sit down and read this book.
Yeah.
I'd
It'll
have
look
to
pretty
be
on my
utterly
shelf, and
bored.
I'm glad that this is where we started to have some kind of
Yeah.
like baseline, but this is definitely not my five-star favorite by any means.
No.
I
But
think
can we
where
appreciate the cover?
the
Because the
cover,
cover just simply
this cover
gorgeous. I mean,
art
like,
is, and I think that's
whew,
why it's like such a bummer, is like this cover
I
art
know.
is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It like this is a gorgeous book. It will look so pretty. Yeah, Scarred is next. It does. It looks great on my
Definitely had
shelves.
higher expectations.
I think I did. I really did. And I think that's what's kind of the
Yeah.
letdown of it is like knowing how much people really did love it, which not every book is everybody's cup of tea. We have learned that. But this is
Yes.
not it. It's not it.
It's not it for us,
I
and that's
think
okay.
yeah, I think I struggled with it being not a retelling, not a
But
fantasy,
Peter Pan
but
related.
Peter Pan
The
related. And I feel
references.
like I think yeah, the reference is really where it fell flat for me. I wish it would have just been
Yeah.
like a mob boss or a mafia or drug lord, like any like leave that separate.
Yep.
But the fact that they tried to sprinkle in these Peter Pan references is really where it gets me. I will say I wrote
Yeah.
it down. The only thing I liked the reference of the pixie dust being
Yep.
the white stuff.
The
I
coat.
thought that was
Yeah,
enjoyable
the
of like
coat.
a fun reference. Yes, but it just didn't need to be, like the saying of straight on till morning, I thought that was really corny. I thought
Super cheesy all the time.
there was a lot of cheese in this book. Like, it was just gushing with
Yeah.
cheese. And nope, I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
So the general plot line of this book, we have James, aka Hook. That is his
Hook.
nickname amongst, his men that he oversees, being a crime lord, and like what the people in the drug world know him as, because he has a hooked knife. Not a hooked hand. We just have a very special knife. I cannot remember for life me what this kind of knife is called off the top of my head, but he has that.
Shoot.
It was in the back of the book.
He says it. Oh, yeah. Anyway, keep going. Yeah, and it was the gift from. It was a gift to him, so it's a sentimental thing too.
Yeah. So that's why he's called Hook, and then we have his nemesis, Peter. So of course we have got Hook, we've got Peter. Well, then Peter has a daughter named Wendy and a son named John. And they just happen to move to the same state that James is in. Go figure. And they're nemesis because Peter is the reason that James's family died. Just, terrible. But James is seeking revenge. Peter's an arrogant ass who doesn't think to know any better. And then Wendy kind of gets in the middle of that, and so on and so forth.
That forced proximity of now she has entered his club. He spots her, obviously knows who she is now wanting to attach himself to her in order to get that revenge on Peter. And that part doesn't bother me. It's when it dove deeper into the relationships of everyone is where I kind of went, well, that's a little too convenient. That's a little too far-fetched for them to be interlaced so much. And I think that's just kind of, I guess, you like a convenient story, like it plays nicely, but when it's too convenient, it's like, it's not good. It's just
like, come on.
Yeah, you couldn't think of any other thing than that. So I guess that's kind of where I was nitpicking on things. I thought my rating too was more reflective of one person, Hook, who I did really enjoy in the book. I thought his character was the most developed. I felt like his backstory was good. His reasoning for revenge was good. Like, it was valid, and I really liked that. I did not like Wendy's character. She's this poor girl who, not poor, she's obviously really wealthy.
She's literally rich, but
she's living in a mansion with her brother, and her dad is off jet setting around the world without her. Like, no, she's definitely not a poor girl, but she plays the poor me card of, my dad's not around, my daddy issues. And I think at one point, she's a young adult. Did they say her age? I can't even remember. She's like 21, 20. Yeah, she's like 21, 20 or 21. And I felt like
she's 20 because she has to use the fake ID.
Yes. Okay. So she's 20 going to the club, and then she's just out here pouting about, oh, poor me. And that's where it bothered me. It was like, your dad's a piece of shit. And you know it. And then you're still out here oh, but, and I'm just get a backbone, move on. I guess she just bothered me. She just really bothered me.
And I mean, I can understand that sense a little bit more personal life wise, about not really having that immediate supportive father figure that you should have. She's we were best friends until my mom died, and then, they drift apart, and she's stuck with that feeling. So I get it, but she just really plays into that instead of growing, and it's obnoxious. But she's also 20, and we were stupid when we were 20.
That's true. It's a valid point.
We just have to play it to her young naivety.
Yes. And I think that's kind of what was interesting, because in the sense of when I started reading, the first half of the book, that's how I felt. Like she's just so naive. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it gets into them. I think it was like chapter 13 is when they finally kiss. Chapter 14 is when they're doing
Mm-hmm.
other things. So it like
Mm-hmm.
picked up really quickly in the sense of, okay, well, she's not a naive little girl. Like she wants to pretend she is. Like, no, she's a
Mm-hmm.
woman and she wants to do woman things. So, okay, act like a damn woman then. Act like
Yeah,
it.
for
Like
sure.
take ownership of what's happening in your life. And I do think like she got the job at the coffee shop and was
Yeah.
trying to, help her brother kind of come to realization that their life isn't what it used to be and everything like that. But the relationship with her brother was also very weird from the get go, in the sense
Mm-hmm.
that, like, obviously Peter didn't have a relationship with John. Wendy did have a
Mm-hmm.
relationship with Peter. And then Wendy, what did I say? There's so many names. Peter
That
and
Peter and
John
John didn't, but Wendy and Peter
didn't.
did. And then Wendy's
Yes.
like
And then
mothering John now because their mom died.
mothering. And it's like, again, going back to like, okay, you want to be this naive little girl and poor me, my daddy's not home and I miss him. But then in the same breath, like you're trying to dictate basically what your brother is doing. And I found that also very interesting take. But
Yeah,
she just had a lot of flaws for me, I think.
for sure. They all
Hook
did.
wise, go ahead.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. They all did.
Mm-hmm.
I just, yeah, and it's hard when you can't really relate to the character either. So it's just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's where I'm at. I just am like, you drive me nuts. The other characters,
Yeah, for
like, yeah,
sure.
James or Hook, as he is known, I did enjoy him. I thought he was, yeah, like I said, the best developed. And then his relationship with Rue, I really enjoyed. I thought that was like
Yeah,
a coming from the ashes story. And I really liked
for
that.
sure. Yeah.
His relationship
Rue
to
literally
Smee,
saved
though.
him.
Yes, Rue is.
Okay.
Well, okay, go back to Rue for a second because I wrote
Okay.
down that I liked it, but there just wasn't enough of his story. And they did reference Rue
Right.
a lot, and like you got to interact with Rue with Hook. Like they did have
Yeah.
conversations, and I enjoyed that. But I did feel like it was very quick snippets, which just in general, the chapters were very
Yeah.
short and quick. But then when it came to big spoiler, Rue's death, that
It
was a
just was like,
6-page thing. 6 pages. That's
yeah.
what they gave him. 6 pages, and then they moved right on. And I think that's where,
Yeah.
like, as far as like the plot thickening, the plot being developed, like for you to move on after 6 pages, what?
Right.
Where's the
And I get like,
justice?
I get like, that's what's fresh on his brain. He is like, I am
Mm-hmm.
seeking revenge for Rue, and he's out for blood, and he finds
Yeah.
that there is, a mole with within his men. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a mole within his
Yeah.
men, and
Yes.
you know, they're like, oh, it was a woman, but we don't know. And he just automatically assumes it's Wendy. And you're like, really? You were supposed to be like
Immediately.
the top,
Immediately.
top. Yeah, you've been spending this time with
Like
her.
it was
You're
such
supposed
a
to be like the
naive
top of
thought.
the crime lord. It was
Yeah.
so dumb.
And
And
you
he
think
just
this
like
20-year-old girl
dies. Yeah.
instantly, like,
Played
well, I mean,
you.
obviously he thinks that she's working with her dad, but for
Yeah.
the whole story from their relationship building up to this point, she has led him nothing to believe that at all. Like there's never been a
Hmm.
conversation, there's never been an inkling that she's hiding anything. So going, and I
Yeah.
guess it's hard because the book is dual point of view, so I think it is
Hmm.
hard to go into that chapter obviously knowing like, okay, well, no, she's not involved, but then to have him literally be like, oh, I'm gonna instantly kill her now, like she's dead this second
Yeah.
because it's her. That shit was annoying.
That is just like, it turned me off from the book so fast because I'm like, really?
So
How are you supposed
fast.
to be this smart elite crime boss and
Mm-hmm.
you immediately just let your head run amok and cannot keep your thoughts straight.
Immediately. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
ridiculous.
didn't. But going past that point of like his ship mate or whatever Smee is to him, his
Yeah, his first mate on the yacht.
his first mate. So that to me was like way more predictable in the sense of like
100%.
he is right under your nose, and I could tell from our perspective that this is the person that's
Yeah,
probably and then
that's
does end up being the
turning.
one that's turning against him. And I just felt like
Hmm.
you meet Wendy and immediately think that it's her and she's sus, but like you don't suspect this guy who, like, the facts were all there. Smee was the only one on the boat with Wendy, and her room magically got unlocked and she escaped. Like, that was point
That's
one.
the
Point
moment
two
I knew. I
was
was like, nope,
that
Smee.
was the moment I knew. That was the moment I knew.
Yeah.
And then after that was then the watch, and James gets pissed and throws it overboard, and obviously the whole ticking thing. That was really big hint number two, that somehow still he didn't
Yeah.
connect. And that was like the most obvious one. That one was like, okay,
Hmm.
this book, like you're basically saying I'm the culprit here.
Right. He's
It was
literally
just
rubbing in his
in
face and
red.
he's like, it's good to see you happy. Like, you don't
Mm-hmm.
actually mean that.
No,
You're just playing
no.
your words here. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. Uh,
So, not plot twist of the century, but I did not expect them to be related. I didn't expect them to be cousins. I thought that was such a weird little ad in there. I didn't like it.
I think that's the detail I didn't like. I think that
Yeah.
him just having found Smee conveniently outside of the Jolly Roger and needing help, and Hook deciding to take him in under his wing and like take care of him and give him a job and all of
Yeah.
that and clothes for his back, like just being a stranger. And then obviously that same correlation of, oh, it's Hook and then Smee from Peter Pan. I thought that was like
Right.
more than enough. It should have ended there. Making
Yeah.
them cousins,
It was a
that's
great
where it's too
story.
convenient. It's too
Yep.
convenient. Like, why would they be cousins? I,
Like, I
I
just
don't
so
know.
happened to witness you murder my father, and I have been
Mm-hmm.
seeking revenge for what, 20 some years or 10
The
years. And you're like,
the uncle that
okay.
he didn't even know had a son. You know, like
Yeah.
no, it just didn't full circle make sense in that moment
Yep.
of, okay,
It was a
this,
trying too hard moment.
it was like you mapped out this book and then randomly you're like, cousin. Yep.
Well, yeah, and it's like I don't know what it was with the just like relatives, but we find out that Wendy's mom wasn't murdered or wasn't just like killed in a car accident. She was murdered by Peter because
Mm-hmm.
she supposedly cheated on Peter, and their son John was actually Hook's dad's son as
Right.
well, so they're half brothers.
Right.
Like
Right.
what?
So then
No,
I'm
we,
just
we could have
confused
just had him
on,
like come in as a fatherly figure.
there was the one comment made between, I think I texted you about it. There was the one comment made between Hook and John when they took him to school, right? They took him to the
Yeah,
island
yeah.
to drop him off at this boarding school. And he made a strange comment to John. And I was like, that's weird. John,
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, knows more than what he's leading on. And you were a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah.
So you're like, maybe that's not the case. But I just knew from that moment that there was like something weird about John. And then after I finished, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, the weird feeling I had, I wish it was that and not this, because
Yeah,
why did they
100%.
see, like, it's just the conveniences of the characters were way too intertwined.
Yep.
And I mean, I love a good like plot twist, but these were just so unpredictably bad.
And just yeah, it's far-fetched. It's too easy. I don't know. It's fine. It was not a terrible book by
It was
any
it well,
means.
it's like it's just kind of lazy writing. And I mean this in no disrespect. Like I said, like the book is a good book. It
Yeah,
was a fun little read. But when you're coming up with characters, like I guess it's just too easy for them all to be connected so closely
for
in a
sure.
sense that like then it's like they don't have their own story. They're just
Yeah,
this person's cousin or this person's brother or whatever it is. And to me that's
yeah.
just too basic, too boring. It's some basic bitch shit. I'll say it.
So what I know you and I were making these lists and we kind of struggled to match our likes versus our dislikes. What did you put as your likes?
Likes? That's funny. I
Yeah.
don't have many. I mentioned the pixie dust. I thought that was a fun little touch
Yeah.
because I obviously like being like a mafia led drug lord. Like, yeah, pixie dust is cocaine. Great. I see it. That's a
Yeah.
great relationship. I did not like a lot of things. One, two, three, four, five-ish dislikes. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
I have 3 likes and 8 dislikes.
Oh, shoot. You have likes, though. What are your likes?
Um, I mean, I feel like they're just a little bit more minor, but I did like the twins. You know, they weren't big characters, but they had their loyalty, they stuck to it, and they were just kind of like that backbone when need be, when there was other people turning on them. So I did like them,
Yeah. Yeah.
even though they didn't have like,
Yeah, they
you
were
know,
minor
heads.
in the story, but I didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I wrote down that I liked them. Yeah, I did.
yeah. So I like them. And obviously we already talked about this, but Rue taking James in as his own when he was with his abusive uncle, like that's a feel good story. Great, kind of like taking him out of childhood abuse, but also throwing him into this awful like drug world. So,
Yeah,
you know, catch
that
22.
was
But we
good.
liked
That was
Rue.
good. Yep. Okay.
And my last one, I actually liked the fact that Wendy was the one who killed Peter. Because I think
Oh,
that, well, yeah, I think that if James or Smee or anyone else would have killed Peter, she would have grieved more. But the fact that she did it
yeah.
herself, she feels like she finally took her power back from her father and knew that like he had to go.
Hmm.
Then she's
That's a
not the
good
one like,
point.
oh
I
my God,
guess.
so and so killed my father.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess I'm not giving her enough credit because that point is kind of the changing moment of like, okay, she is realizing like what she
Yeah.
once knew isn't what it is anymore, and I can respect that because her
Mhm.
life did change drastically, even from childhood to where she's at to then post Peter's death. Like a lot had changed in
Yeah.
that time frame. And
Yeah.
I mean, even after her mom's death, you know, her life
Mhm.
before her mom died, after her mom died, you know, there were big momentous things that happened in her life, but for her to take it
Mhm.
back and kind of stick it to the man, literally. Yeah, that was
Hmm.
good. I did like that part.
Well, even
Ba-bum.
you know, she's starting to realize when they go to that big event, you know, the gala, and
Mm-hmm.
he James is holding Wendy and he is threatening Wendy and he's threatening Peter, and
Mm-hmm.
he himself is realizing, oh, Wendy's innocent, and Peter is
Not, yeah,
begging for
she's not
his
involved
life
in
over
this.
his daughter's life.
Yes.
Ew.
She caught on to
Big
that though.
fat ew. And I love that
Yes.
she did, because like, are you joking me? If someone were like threatening me and my children be like, take me, are you joking?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. That was just
Yeah, Peter
gross.
was really and what's his Tina?
Tina.
Tina
I
Bell?
hated Tina Bell. She's got her little
Tina
blonde bun.
Bell.
No.
Of
No,
course
no,
she
no, no, no. And
does. She's
Tina's
a
all
little
coked up.
tinker. She
Yeah,
is.
but we
She
like
is.
Tinkerbell. Tina's coked up B.
She was, but she was kind of the morally gray, like sidekick
Yeah.
that you could almost respect, though, in the sense that like she did
Respect her
show up to the
hustle.
mansion. Yeah, she showed up to the mansion and was like, "Yeah, Wendy, let's go, bitch. Like, I'm taking you with me." And
Yeah,
that was commendable, like being from a female
for sure.
perspective of like she's standing her ground and she's doing
Usually
what
the
she needs to
men do
do.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a man's job and whatever, but I mean, I wouldn't want to do that, but
No.
but that's just me.
But we're
Like, no,
also not in the
no.
drug world.
No, no, you get the bad guys. I'll just be here. Like, no thanks.
I don't
We're
know.
not in
She
the drug
was
world.
just
Darn.
dang. No, she was just super annoying. I did not love her character. Oh,
Mm-mm.
oh, and the bartender. I wasn't entirely sure how to say her name. It's not Maria, but it's like Moria.
I was saying it like
Mora.
Schitt's Creek, like Moira.
Moira. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was so obvious when he
Yes.
stopped using her that she was
Yes.
gonna turn. Like she was just a
Yes.
terrible character.
She was very poorly put together. I think
Yeah,
her whole character being anyway of like being just like his sexual outlet to me was
yeah.
just very cringy. Not to say
Hmm.
that like that isn't an obvious thing, that probably does happen all the time in
It
all
totally
different
does. Yeah,
professions, but that to me was just, I guess, like to bring it into the book, I felt like was like, oh, gross. And then I guess just from like an icky, like this is a dark romance, like it had smut in it, and to me that was like, oh, ew, like now I just need a shower because now I feel icky. And I just felt like then, yeah, as her storyline progressed, and then for her to come back and be like, how did you not see it? Like,
yeah.
no,
We
Moira,
all saw it
no.
except for him.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, no, you're not that sneaky. Like, you're not that good.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. You and I have had
What
this
other?
conversation many times. The what I cannot stand, and okay, I'm gonna
Oh, I
just
know.
preface this right away. Some people are into this, and by all means, if you are, no judgment from me. It is not for me though. James
Mm-mm.
immediately feels a sense of ownership over Wendy, so he calls her his pet. I'm your master. Nope.
It's a
No.
done deal for me. I think what's really frustrating, because the tropes of the book, like I wrote down enemies to lovers, which I don't really know that they are enemies to lovers in the sense
It's
that
like
like Hook
kind
is
of.
an enemy to Peter, not to Wendy.
Exactly.
So they're not really enemies. But then I also have touch her and you die.
For
Um
sure.
there was like knife to neck kind of like weapon play in there. And then I
Yep.
also wrote down like forced proximity of like he essentially, yeah, like takes her in as, yeah,
Yeah.
his pet, and is okay. That's also, wait, hold on. I wrote it down as something I really didn't like because that was his whole thing. It was a pawn in his scheme to get back at Peter. And
Yeah.
what the ick for me, for the most part, I didn't really mind that he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna walk in there with Wendy on my arm and then slay Peter
Yeah.
in front of her. Like, that didn't bother me.
Okay.
What drew the line for
Yep.
me, this is where it draws the line, is when he brought up then how he now is falling in love with her, right? And he can't live without her. And then he goes on to talk about impregnating her and then killing Peter in front of her while she's with their child. Like, that to me
Yep.
was a little much,
Yeah.
in the sense that like I'm a mom and I was just like, ew, ew. And like you just said you love her and you want to raise her
Mm-hmm.
babies, but you're still like, yeah, watch me screw your brains out, impregnate you, and then kill your dad.
Literally. And one
It's
of the
just like a
connections that we
weird,
had. Yeah.
it's like the fact that he got off on it is what was so gross to me. Like it was just a constant, my pants are tight, the whole book. And I was like,
How do you walk
so
around
you're
like
just like
that?
constantly hard. You're just like hard this whole book because why? Like, you should go to the doctor. What's wrong with you?
Quit popping the Viagra.
Seriously. I'm like, no. Why do you still have a boner? It's been like 24 hours. I
This is our
couldn't.
ADHD unhinged brains right now.
I could not. I could not. I was like, that's no.
Yeah.
It was gross. It was gross.
And just, kind of circling back to Haunting Adeline, like the moment Zaid sees Addie, if you haven't read the series, this is a
Yes.
spoiler. Zaid worships Addie. Yeah, he is fucked up. He stalks her. He kills people over her. But he
Yes.
worships the ground that she walks on. Like, he's like, you could break my heart into a million pieces and I'm still going to crawl after you over them. And
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
kill any man that stands in my way. Like, it's fucked up, but it was in a term
Owns
of
it
endearment.
though.
And maybe this is just me loving the color red or something. I don't know. But that's just,
It
it was
was
a different type of endearment versus James just
it's
being
from
like,
the
oh,
perspective
I
of
own
I can't live
you.
without you. It's from that perspective of I cannot
Hmm.
live without you. And I feel like James's perspective was more like it's
I'm gonna use
just a
you.
revenge thing, and then when
Hmm.
I'm done playing with you, I'm going to dismiss you, but
Yep.
not in like a oh that's hot and kinky kind of way. It was just really truly like stop calling her pet. Like go get a damn
Hmm.
dog. I can't.
I'm
I
sorry if you're
mean,
into that kind of thing, but I can't get behind it. It's not for me, and that's
darling.
okay if
He
it's for
called her
you, but it
Wendy
is.
Darling. We've been down this road before with
Yeah.
Akatar. Wendy Darling. Like, that's a term of endearment. I like that.
Fair
I'm even
darling.
fine with being like, okay, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of like other bookish nicknames that I've heard that I'm like, oh, yeah, that's hot. That's sexy. That's really cute. Pet is not it.
Not it for me. No.
It's not it.
That's actually the very first dislike that I wrote was quote pet, quote your master.
Same. I put dislike pet, not endearing or not even hot, a nickname.
I love this for us. And honestly, I mean, we've
It's the
really
very first
like
thing I wrote.
checked all my other dislikes, like the obvious plot, the pan references, the weird convenient relationships, Tina and Peter, Rue's death, like just all bundled. I didn't love that.
Yeah, those are pretty much all the things I had. Relationship from like the Peter Pan storyline in general. I wrote that it was really corny. I did mention this, like which I guess was different than at least like Peter saying it, but Rue and Hook saying, straight on till morning. And then the one I really didn't like was talking about nicknames. Peter's nickname for Wendy, Little Shadow.
My little shadow.
I
Like
can
really.
see I guess I can see it as like, that's cute. But
Yeah.
as they got older, and then he does it at the gala, he calls her that, like in
Yeah,
public,
he's like little
in
shadow.
Little Shadow, what are you doing? Little Shadow, why are you with him? Like, and to me, it's very childish dig. Like Peter
Mhm.
is not a grown
Never
up
grew up.
himself. Like he's not a grown up.
Mhm.
He doesn't know how to act like an adult. He's taking these naive little digs that I felt like were just. I mean, he's just a child, I guess, a man child.
Yeah, for sure. And then
Okay.
I think really all I have left is favorite quotes.
Yes. Tell me.
And
What
that
did
one
you
was
write
okay,
down?
it was so hard because we talked about this in the context of the book. Like, just if
Yes.
you're thinking of the line alone, you're like, okay, that's a great line. Those lines could have easily been paired with an amazing book, and you're like, yes, I love that.
Yeah.
Um, it'd be like memorable because we struggled to find quotes, but you can think like, I guarantee you
I
take any
did.
fourth wing Akatar and we're like, oh yeah, here's quotes right off the bat.
I
So
think
they just
okay, so
weren't memorable.
I wrote two
Yeah, same.
regular ones and then I wrote one spicy.
Okay.
So I wrote, "Darling, if I'm the dark, then you are the stars."
I wrote that one too.
I liked that one. I liked that one. But
Yeah.
again, like out of context, like Darling in this instance is obviously Wendy Darling, but
Yeah.
I feel like that can be played anywhere. That's okay. I should have wrote that on my likes, I guess. I did like that pet name for Wendy, Wendy Darling.
Yeah.
Um the other quote I wrote was, "I'll sacrifice my soul 1,000 times over in order to stay with his." And
Mm-hmm.
I did like that one. I mean,
Yeah.
outside of what's happening in the
Going
book and the
on.
just
Yeah.
everything, like, ugh. But the quote itself, I thought that was good. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when she says that though, because I feel like it was when,
Is it at the end or is it at the gala?
or is it, oh, I thought it was at the end.
I did too. I thought in the big like final killing scene.
Hmm. Because
We
she
could be very
was
wrong.
being held back by Tina,
Yeah.
and they're kind of going back and forth, and she's like having that internal debate of, am I going to sit here and let this happen, or am I
Yeah.
going to fight for him and
Yeah.
do something right now? I can't
Yeah.
remember, but I liked that one. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
I guess that whole like last scene was maybe the best part. I don't know. I felt like I really liked it in the middle, and then it kind of kept going, and then I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And
It just
then
fell
it
flat.
ended, and I was like, oh, okay. Okay, and then okay, wait. Did you write any spicy quotes?
No, I have one that's a little more kind of funny than spicy because I didn't
Oh,
really care
okay.
to look for the spicy one.
Okay. What is your quotes?
I want to know your spicy quote. What is it?
Oh, it's really not that bad, but I want to say it's the first time that they're okay. I'm gonna double check now because I think it's the first time they're like
Together.
getting to it.
Hmm.
Da, 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 da. Oh, I thought it was right here. No, but this is a spicy chapter. Okay, my spicy quote was, it's it's so out of context, but it's just, your mouth should be illegal.
Mm-hmm. That is good.
Yeah, and then he comes back with
Mm-hmm.
something though, but I can't remember what it was. And I thought it was in this chapter, but it's not. So,
We love a good praise both ways.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so we already said like the second quote that I had chose was "Darling, if I'm the dark, then you're the stars." Just, a cutesy
Yes.
little thing. But this one,
Mm-hmm.
it's, a little conversation at the very end between James and Wendy. So, James says, he asks her a question. He says, "You want to watch the world burn?" And she says, "Let me guess.
Yes.
You'll set it on fire." And he says, "No, darling, I'll hand you the match, stand at your back, watching you become queen of the ashes." Like, that's the endearment. That's the support.
That,
Like, you
yes.
know, my husband
He
would be
was
like,
helping
"Yeah, like,
her.
do
He
your
was helping
thing."
her, yeah, get her
Yeah.
ground of standing up for what she wants. And I did like that one. That was a good one. That
Yeah.
scene was good. That little snippet. Um, I don't think I had anything else that I like really hated or loved, I guess.
Well, the last quote that I wrote, right?
Ooh, you had one more. Ooh,
I
you're
just
full of
thought
quotes.
it was kind of a funny scene. So this is the second time that she sees him. Like, he sees her in the bar for the first time. They kind of interact, and then
Mm-hmm.
he shows up at her work. She's already having a
Mm-hmm.
day. This customer comes in, he's being an absolute asshole to her. And James is
Mm-hmm.
witnessing all of this. And this guy's yelling at her, just like, just make my coffee. And he looks at her and he goes, don't make his coffee, darling. Like, I just thought that was funny because it's like, you're kind of just showing your power move over her, but also over this just like random dude. I liked that. I thought it was funny.
He's like sticking up for her.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's like something mundane like that, like it's not life or death for once. And so it was just nice to see that he's like, don't do that. But also like that dominant factor is still in there.
Yeah, for sure. Just she notes like his sense of power just from his presence alone. But I mean, yeah, that was really it. It was an okay read. It'll look pretty on the shelf. I'm glad that we did it.
It was a good starting point. I think.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I guess I'm a little confused on why it's like so hyped, other than like maybe because there is like spice. I feel like it's hard now when I want to read like a smutty fantasy, because I feel like some people who really like smut and romance like kind of settle for anything, and like that sounds kind of mean, but that's not how I mean it. But it's like a different thing. And like when I picked it up, I was thinking it was definitely more like fantasy related, and I thought there was just going to be a little bit more in depth to it. Like the smut was there, the smut was fun, the characters were fine, but yeah, it's nothing to like rave home about. I think it was a good quick little read. It's a good start to the year. Now we move on and move up. Yeah. There's just bigger, better things out there for me to be reading at this point in time. My TBR is so long.
Which does lead us to episode 2. Very exciting.
Episode 2. I know. I go back and forth of like, is this the right thing to do? Because we are wanting to do Ruthless Vows. And that's hard.
By Miss Rebecca Ross.
Yes. But I feel like it's hard because it's the second in the duology. So
yeah,
we could do a short recap too. Yeah, we could do a short recap of that, and then do Ruthless Vows. I'm excited for Ruthless Vows.
Into Ruthless Vows. I am too. I finished it last night. I really enjoyed it. So we'll definitely dive into that one more when you're done with it and in the next episode. Well, yeah, that about wraps it up for us. But I mean, thanks for being here if you stuck around, and it was fun. I think our first episode went really well.
I think it's a good starting point. I think I'm excited to continue reading throughout the year and see what other books we want to pick up for the podcast. If there's ones that you absolutely love and want us to read next, please let us know on the next podcast. We're going to talk about Ruthless Vows. And then, just thanks for being here. I'm so excited.
Oh, quick. It is the beginning of February, so we would like to share our book of the month of January. And I mean, if you want to leave us a comment telling us your book of the month for January, that would be awesome, because I want to know what you guys are reading too. So what was your book of the month for January?
So I read 3 books in January, and of the 3, Archer's Voice was my favorite of the 3. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it was a good start to the year. What was your favorite January read?
So I was in the Throne of Glass tandem in January.
Oh, that's right.
Which makes it hard. And I did read 3 other books in January on top of that. But Empire of Storms took the cake for me. So Empire of Storms, Sarah J. Maas, Throne of Glass series. 5 stars.
Oh, I can't wait to start. That's on my list. And then when I finally read them, there will be so many podcasts of that. But I'm excited. Oh, yeah. What else?
We'll dive into all SJM. No, that was
so much SJM.
That was really it.
That was good. That was it. I'm excited. Please keep following along. FanTC Podcast. Like, subscribe.
We'll link the Insta. What you're all supposed to do. All the things to,
all the
make the
things.
algorithm do its thing.
Please just
But also,
follow
yeah,
us
well,
and be our friends and share your favorite reads. Please talk to us about books. It's the only thing I want to talk about ever. And my kids, but that's kind of irrelevant in this world. But please, 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 please. And yeah, more to come. More to come.
Yeah. Oh, always looking for bookish besties, and like let us know where you're from and kind of where you're
Yes,
watching.
if you are in the broad Arizona or Nebraska area, please let us know. We're looking for local bookish besties to, do all the bookish things with, i.e. go to midnight release parties, hang out, start a book club. We want to do all the things. So thanks for being
have
here.
guests on the show. Let's do all of it.
Thanks for being here, bestie.
Yay! Well, until next time, and we'll see you guys when we dive into Ruthless Spouse.